Hey, this is Matt once again. What about another video? There's another paid request, this time for Travis. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is for a film called Deadlock, which is a 1970 West German spaghetti western. Now, I had never heard of this film before. It does have some pretty decent reviews for it. Me, I mean, I didn't hate the film, but there's other spaghetti westerns I much prefer over this. Pretty much, it does have some good visuals, as in it really does make you feel as if you're at the end of the world, as in you're in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing else left in the world, isolation, and the western scenes are shot where you have this guy come out in the desert. And I say spaghetti western, but at the same time, it seems like it takes place in modern time as well, because there are people dressed in suits. The lead guy has this hippie type of haircut. He has a machine gun. People drive cars. So it has a feel of spaghetti western, but at the same time has this modern setting. Although if I want to watch that, I'll watch Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis, which I much prefer. But this guy comes out, he's got a suitcase in one hand, he's got a machine gun in the other. In the suitcase, he's got like a 45 vinyl of a song, and he's got money. The music is an interesting piece of business because it's from this, I guess, West German band called Can, C-A-N. And it definitely gives a unique sound to it. So I will say I appreciate that. So the guy's in the desert and he's beaten up and I think he's wounded on the arm and he passes out and this guy comes by whose name, I kid you not, is, his last name is Dump. D-U-M-P. And he contemplates on killing the guy, but he's like, no, I'm going to take the suitcase and run. But he's like, no, I'm going to bring him back and try to help him. He does. It takes him to this absolutely nothing, desolate town. I guess it was a mining town. And like I said, I will say the movie does do a good job establishing how just a vacant lot this is of a hellhole. Like there's nothing around and the sun's blaring down and the last dying remnants of the West. There's even like a statue thing of a cowboy on top of something and the arm is like barely hanging on and swinging away. You really get that feel of being in the middle of nowhere. And like I said, there's some good striking shots. There's two other people in this town. There's like an older woman that likes to take her titties out. And there's like a younger woman that seems almost feral. Barely talks. And they might be related to this Mr. Dump guy, but they don't really go a whole lot of detail into that. At least for what I remember. And then there's a bit of paranoia where Dump wants to take the money, but then the kid, that's all you know, this lead guy, the kid, with the suit and the suitcase, has a machine gun and threatens him, don't take my shit. And ultimately this third guy comes in, who is the kid's partner, and I guess you call him Mr. Sunshine. And in the way we first see him, from the back, he's got this gun, kind of like a pistol with a scope and a stock on it. Head down. Very nice striking shot. And then chunk of the film is this paranoia between the three. Now, I wouldn't say that the actors and the characters really drove the plot for me. Like, they weren't bad, but they were not Clint Eastwood and the Man with No Name trilogy. They were not Lee Van Cleef. They were not... They were fine, but I didn't really feel the gravitas, the personas, the charismas, the it factors from them. Obviously, altogether they were fine, but I'm kind of like, okay, I don't really care about these characters. I don't really care what happens to them. But again, with the interesting music and the desolate middle nowhere feel to it, and some of those interesting shots that's acquiring. It's not a bad sit. It's just not one I would ever see again. Getting more into spoilers as it goes on, Mr. Dump pretty much first wants to steal the money, but then you can tell this desperation of just wanting to get the hell out of this hellhole. He tries to leave on this train, he gets kicked off. And you do kind of feel sympathy for this guy, because at the beginning of the film, he could have killed this kid guy, and could have just taken it. In fact, maybe he should have. That's what you kind of feel it by the end. Maybe he should have done it, because the kid isn't really that good of a person either. He really isn't. That's the thing. Even with some of those spaghetti westerns, I feel I could root for the lead. I could root for Clint Eastwood's character. I could root for some of these other characters. Can't really root for anybody in this. Just a kid. Like, even though this guy could have killed him, could have done this. Granted, maybe the kid doesn't know that because he was passed out. And he just wants to leave. It's just to a point where Mr. Sunshine and the kid are riding in the truck and they run the guy down. Hit him with the truck. And the kid doesn't really stop it. He doesn't really do anything to stop it. He doesn't try. Doesn't try to reach for the wheel or try to push him off. No, he just lets it happen. Lets this guy die. So again, if there's a guy closest to feel sorry for, it is this Mr. Dump guy. So I guess that's maybe the closest guy you could root for. But again, the kid doesn't do anything. I'm like, well, fuck you, kid. You deserve to die too, you piece of shit. So then Mr. Sunshine and the kid are going to split the money, and they're going to do stuff. The kid sleeps with that feral. The lady seems feral enough. The next day, Mrs. Sunshine is going to take all the money, but then realizes in the suitcase there's nothing in there, so he comes back and he's pissed. And he keeps asking where the money is, but the kid won't tell him. He smacks the kid. He's going more crazy with the realization he might not get the money. So he shoots the two ladies. And the kid seems like he doesn't really give a fuck about that either. And then, I guess, yeah, the bad guy just goes insane. He's yelling, he's screaming. And he has the machine gun. He's just standing there. And he could shoot the kid. Which to me would be more apparent he's going crazy. Fuck you then! You know what, I would have been fine. If he turned the gun on the kid and just blew him full of holes, I'd be fine with that. Because I don't give a fuck about him. It would make more sense. But he's just crazy, just standing there. And the kid just takes the gun, pushes him, and then shoots him. So it's not like the gun was empty. It's not like the gun needed to be reloaded. It's just the guy, Mr. Sunshine, just went crazy because he won't get the money and lost his mind and, I don't know, got a bunch of... His brain went to sleep like your computer goes to sleep, and cue the sound, do do do, do do. His mind got the blue screen of death, I guess. I don't know. So the kid's able to take the gun and just shoot him. And then walks off. The kid walks off to the desert and the movie ends. So, it's one of those things where, as I'm talking about it, I just honestly, the more I think about it, I would say I didn't really care for it, but it didn't make me mad or angry. I didn't mind some of the shots. I didn't mind some of the cinematography, like the look, the desolate feel of it. I didn't mind the music by Tan. That was one of the more interesting parts of it. But the characters didn't do much for me. The cast didn't do much for me. The story, the ending, it was kind of meh for me. It wasn't really that exciting. It wasn't really that thrilling. Someone say it's like an acid trip. I'm like, well, other than the music, it's not. I wish it was more of an acid trip if that's the case. I have a very mundane opinion on it. Like, it didn't make me mad. It didn't make me angry. It just, I would never. I'll forget about this film a week after and not really. I'm very lukewarm on it. So I guess at the end of the day, I didn't really care much for it. I was about to say at the beginning, well, yeah, I don't mind, but no, if I'm being honest, there's other westerns, spaghetti westerns I'd watch over this. Like that film I did a commentary for where Lee Van Cleef was the bad guy. I'd rather watch that one. I'd rather watch, again, the Clint Eastwood ones. Some of the stuff that stars Lee Van Cleef. Those I much prefer over this. As well as other westerns like Young Guns, High Plains Drifter, among others. I mean, westerns are not really my big forte, but there are some I like, and this one is, like I said, wasn't for me. So with that said, thanks once again, Travis. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.